And we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage-porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network here at the Go Local Live broadcast. Oh, Jesus. Can you believe I did that again? Can we start from scratch?
Hold on, let me bring the tab back up.
I don't even know what to do. Okay, let's do this one more time.
No, we're in.
All right, we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Network. Well, at the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network, in the bunker, deep in the hills of La Prave, the naked city, the city of, well, about 300,000 stories. Tonight we're going to tell yet another one. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, the mothership at coalitionradio.us, where links to these and former shows on what we call Coalition 1.0, 2.0, and now Coalition 3.0. Hopefully you heard earlier today our seminal interview with Senator Sam Bell. Sam waxed rather poetic on issues as diverse as Janet Coit at the Department of Environmental Management, on Stephen Pryor, a good friend of the show. Not. He let loose. He is clearly very frustrated by, I believe, the series of events that have transpired over the last couple of weeks and the inability of, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I'd rather you listen to the interview. It's pinned to the top of our page. Let's just say on the inability of the legislative branch of the three co-equal branches of Rhode Island government, and I say that with tongue firmly planted in cheek, to, in the words of the vernacular, get their act together. It's worthwhile listening to because he essentially dissects, while the Rhode Island governmental body is still on the table, just about everything. And I think it really transcends politics per se in terms of the left-right paradigm. Here is someone who, regardless of how you feel about his personal politics, works diligently at what he feels is the best for every Rhode Islander. And he doesn't see really anyone getting served well at this point. But again, let him speak for himself, something he's very capable of. In the 2 weeks or so that we've been on the air under this new version of the Coalition here in the bunker, what we've tried to do is reach out to a number of area businesses who are, and to take sort of a positive note, folks who are trying their best to weather the storm. I'm running out of cliches, quite frankly. So you'll have to bear with me. I've owned small businesses. I do now. I've been employed. I've worked for large organizations, consulted to small organizations. It should be obvious that the business conditions that folks are facing, those that are able to open their business and try to attain some semblance of normal or a pulse, and those that have been forced by the state of Rhode Island to essentially close their business are facing challenges unlike anything really in our lifetime or maybe even our parents' lifetime. So in order to try and foster the positive, what I've done is I've reached out to a number of area businesses, and the point being is let's get behind those people who are open, see if we can help them right now, understand their struggles, put a human face on it, what it's like to own a business in Rhode Island, the blessings, the curses, really the entire picture. It's easy for us in a sense to bash. There are a lot of frustrations out there that have been exacerbated by the horror of what we're dealing with right now. But at the Coalition, we prefer to take the positive. Someone that I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite a while is Mike Underwood. He is a resident of the greater Warwick, as we say, metropolitan area here in Rhode Island. He is involved in landscape and construction. Mike, welcome back to the Coalition. He's been on once or twice to talk about things before. Tell us a little bit about your business and give us kind of a recent history of how it's had to evolve and where we're going, what you do, what you're able to do normally, and what kind of work are you available to do right now?
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'll start with we're surviving. Not really happy with what's going on right now. I'll give you a little back history. Last summer, I had some labor problems. Had a really tough time finding people to work. I mean, let's face it, who wants to dig in the dirt or cut grass when it's hot out and they can work at McDonald's for $12 an hour, the same as what I start people at. Um, you know, Makes it too easy not to work, or they sit on the system and stay that way for a while instead of getting out and working. But so we're surviving. I'm considered essential services. Um, Thankfully, I know that the National Association of Landscape Professionals has done a good work promoting the essential needs of a landscape company, and I know construction is considered the same as well. I don't really do any more of that. I got frustrated with that and basically dropped that side of the business last spring, actually right around this time last year. And I'm working solo right now um, with what's going on. I'm just doing small project work. I actually just started Monday this week, but it was looking pretty gloomy there for a little while. Obviously, it's a ripple effect. People are out of work, and landscaping is something that could be considered by many as a luxury or an unnecessary item if the budget shortens up. So, I got nervous. I had a lot of phone calls out with with the few customers that I had after downsizing last year because of the labor problems. Um, I, I wasn't getting any phone calls back, so it was like, oh boy, I'm going to be in trouble. And thankfully, I've only not received calls from about four of the customers that I do have left. Um, but it's been a continuous kick. You try to get up and get moving, and you get kicked again. And it started with the labor last year, and then it went into the fall, and it was a nationwide problem. A lot of big insurance companies, they kind of went sideways on the commercial plowing, and everyone's policies more or less tripled. And you know, to spend 15 or $20,000 on a plow policy um, is not profitable unless you can guarantee you're going to get 12 or more snowstorms at 12 inches plus every time. So that was another kick, and then I finally got that situated, and then of course we had absolutely no good snow this winter, so that was a loss. I actually lost money, even though I managed to only spend 1,000 more and find a good policy over what it was the previous year, and now we come into this year, and to make a decision of what's essential and not essential is it can be devastating for people. And I'm working by myself. I'm doing what I'm doing until that's how I'm trying to be socially distant and responsible and all
Hmm.
that. And I've come up with a solution that I'm fortunate that I still have a few trucks. So if I've got to run with another person or whatever, we'll take multiple vehicles to a job site instead of packing in the extra cab truck and everyone driving in one crew truck, so to speak. We'll try to split up, and it's going to cost me a little more in gas, but hey, we'll be safe for now. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't have that luxury with multiple company vehicles. So hopefully I'm not rambling and going sideways
No,
on you.
no, not at all. In fact, you've really kind of you brought to in literally a couple of paragraphs, literally a statement on just about every issue facing commercial landscapers and or folks who do landscape construction. Um, it's let's first of all start out with the labor issue. This is I folks who know me know that during the day, normally I deal with commercial trucks. So I work with a lot of folks in landscape construction, landscape architecture, light construction, remodeling. They use trucks, and the complaint everywhere is that no one can find labor, and it's physically an incredibly demanding job. On the other hand, for a young man or woman just out of high school who may not have any training, it is the gateway to, if one is willing to invest in education, hard work, it is the gateway to a tremendous career. There are programs at universities, trade schools. If you want to get into, if you want to move past the lawn cutting phase and get involved in the horticultural aspect of it, the design aspect of it, the construction aspect of it, it's one of those fields where you can start to make a living right away. You work your ass off, but at the same time, there's a path. And there's a path very often for a lot of folks to end up starting their own business. It's how many folks who run now got going. But this is not one of those situations where you're going to get the apartment like on Friends within a couple months. You're going to literally pay your dues. And that, of course, doesn't even encompass the issues surrounding snow plowing. So yeah, I mean, and before this Corona COVID-induced recession that we're going to find ourselves in a little bit, there was seemingly unlimited demand for the services. People really don't want to cut their own lawn or do, there's a certain breed that does, right, Mike? But there's a lot of people who want a really nice lawn, want that come home to that ideal home, and don't want to have anything to do with it whatsoever, is there?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that, you're right, they don't want to get their hands dirty, and they just want to come home to something that's nice when they walk in. At the end of the day, they see it and it's all set, and they say, "Wow, this looks great," and it's they leave it to someone else to handle it, which is great for me. It's interesting to me that for the state of Rhode Island, we have some of the best turf fields in the country. I mean, we make some really good turf here, and that's a green industry type of thing. And then you have URI that has all of their, sort of agricultural programs, and they have the Master Gardener program. And yet we have problems in this field and in this industry. We do have, there's organizations like Rhode Island Nursery and Landscape Association, and they try to do things to help the industry here, but it's not just a landscaping and construction labor problem. I've got friends that have restaurants. I've got friends that have carpentry businesses. I have friends that, work in retail, and they all say the same thing. If we don't fix the labor force and get them motivated somehow, we're all going to be in trouble because they're just not turning out to work. And you're right. I think you made that Friends reference about the apartment or whatever. You got to get your foot in the door and get started. And yeah, you might not like the pay when you start, but for me, the way I run it, I start someone at basic pay with no knowledge and no skill. And I know for my own company, if you come back next year, it's an automatic $1 an hour pay raise. And most of my past employees will tell you that. I also tell employees that, this isn't a lifetime career unless you're getting into this industry or this field and you want to learn and then eventually move on to your own. Or, if you want to learn and move up and, be a foreman and, try to manage the business as a truck foreman or something like that, then that's how that we can manage that. And I've done that with a few guys, and I've actually had a couple of kids move on to law enforcement or firefighters or things like that, that's great because they get I'm retired military, and I can be a little firm with the way I run things, and I feel like that's good for them because this isn't trying to think of how to say this. This isn't a non-skilled job because it is, but it's also a structured job, where every Monday customer X wants their lawn cut by the end of the day. So you have some responsibility to learn that and to be on time and do things like that. And it's not a starter job, but it's also not a lifetime career unless you're trying to be a manager or a foreman, or you're going to start your own business in that sense. And I've worked with a lot of kids um, that, they come, they go, they come, they go. Some have stayed for 4 or 5 years, and that's great. And then they, like I said, they've moved on to bigger and better things, which is always fantastic. But it's difficult. I mean, before last year when I had the labor problems, I would literally go through 12 to 15 employees that would last anything from 2 days to 2 weeks or 2 months. So it's a big problem that, before this Corona stuff that needs to be looked at and fixed. So I don't remember if I answered your question or not now.
No, that's great. And let's go down some of the other issues we kind of faced. And
Okay.
again, these are all challenges that you were facing before the advent of the of Corona or COVID. And this is instructive to understand because most folks they take another path. They go to work for somebody, or they work in a given field for their entire life. Taking the risk to start your own business is a gamble. It's a challenge. It requires hard work, and it's an adversarial environment that we're facing right now. And again, this is before. So the other issue you talked about, which again I experienced, firsthand as well, is the insurance issue. Explain to folks about snowplow insurance. I'm not quite sure if they're aware of the expense, the challenge getting it, why you need it.
So I'll kind of touch on the whole package of insurance for a small business like me, and I say small, but we're actually considered micro by pretty much any business standard, not just the green industry, but when you have 2 or 3 employees, you're pretty much considered micro. So for a small business like me, in this state in particular, it's just absolutely horrendous to try to run a business. And I kind of try to kick myself in the back of the head with my own foot sometimes for even thinking of doing this. But I like to be outside. I like to do my own thing. I like to see a finished product. I like to work with my hands. I like to deliver smiles to my customers and something that they come home and they look at me, wow, that's great. So for a small business like myself, I have to have 3 different types of insurance. I have to have a business policy, and that's like $1 million and a $2 million rider or whatever. Then I have to have workers' comp policy, and that's based on payroll, and it's never a consistent figure, especially if your payroll goes up and down, which is just absurd to me. And of course there's higher risk and all that, which I kind of get, but to have an up and down all year long, and the insurance providers, they're just brutal to deal with because they're not flexible. And if they do an audit on you based on payroll, and they look at your payroll and they come up with I don't know, I'll say some figure like you owe $2,000 based on your payroll, they're so not forgiving. Like they just want all their money right then and there. And they must have somebody up at the state doing some good lobbying, because there's really nobody else to deal with in the state. So they kind of have a monopoly, in my opinion, and they're difficult to deal with. So then the third type of insurance is going to be the auto policy. So you have a business policy, which covers you, like, I've had it happen. You put a rock through a window from a basic lawn service. Okay, well, the insurance covers it. Then you have the workers' comp policy, and then you have the auto policy. So your auto policy, if it was just you, would probably be fine. But when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people driving your vehicles, well, their driving history goes into your insurance policy price. So that's not even set. So combined, all told, my policy last year was like $12,000. for the 3 different policies. I mean, that's a huge kick, you know, right off the top to to have to come up with just to run a small landscaping company. And, you know, I'm in a different situation. I'm not going to be one of those guys that you see out there running around without any insurance. You know, I've got a family, I've got a house, I've got, you know, a small retirement from the military that I have to make sure is protected. So there's not any chance that I'm ever going to run without insurance to make sure I'm protected.
Right.
So
and that's important too, because you're also making sure that your employees are protected against, God forbid, an accident on the work site as well. I mean, you're doing right by yourself, but you're also, if something should happen to one of the folks who works for you, they're fully protected. They're going to be able to claim insurance, workman's comp, everything.
Yeah, because I mean, the equipment that a landscaper uses is very different than a homeowner with a push mower, or even a simple ride-on mower. You know, the commercial equipment, you know, we can mow at 10 miles an hour, which is pretty fast. And there's 3, 16, 18-inch blades underneath the deck. And, you know, some of the machines, if you get on a slope, on a wet morning when there's a lot of dew, the thing can slide. If it goes over, I mean, you see it in the industry, a couple of accidents that are fatal every year. So, you know, you see people, I mean, even hedge trimmers to trim bushes, you can lose a finger real quick because those things get going. You get your finger in there wrong and it goes your finger. You got to make sure that the employees are safe and taken care of in the event that they have an accident.
Right. So run that number by us again, roughly. And folks need to understand that, again, we're talking the best of times. And I don't want to keep you up at nights when I say this, but, you know, just for insurance, for you to wake up in the morning and open the doors, how much are you spending annually, ballpark, on insurance?
$12,000 last year. $12,000. And
simply to open the doors and fog up the mirror, as it were.
That's right. Just to turn the key and make it go vroom.
Right. So let's reflect that back then on how many lawn jobs, you know, how many conventional jobs you have to do simply. Now, we haven't talked about depreciation on your trucks, new equipment. We haven't talked about advertising. We haven't talked about anything. We just haven't gone there. When folks take, let's just say you're an accountant, your per hourly charge, or let's say you run a landscape company, your hourly charge, you're charged to do a particular cleanup or a job. They often take that kind of, like if you're an accountant and you charge like $125 an hour, let's just say, your local accountant. Well, folks have a tendency to multiply that by 40 and then multiply that by 52 and say, oh my goodness, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. What other challenges do you face? You talked about the state, you talked about the taxes and everything else. Who do you pay taxes to?
So I pay the I can't even remember what it's called now. My accountant tells me write the check for $450 to the state, and it's basically the business tax, and it gets me absolutely nothing except for my name, my business name on a computer that says I'm a legitimate business, and then I pay taxes on top of that, and then I pay. I'm probably going to phrase it wrong, but I pay into the payroll taxes. So if I have 2 employees that are making $300 a piece a week or $500, if they're making $500, I pay an additional almost $500 into the system as well. So I basically tell everyone for every 2 employees, it's like having a third, and I see 0 for that. So it's that's quite frustrating. That's the tax end of it, and then of course I pay the annual revenue taxes and all of that, and of course, you know, my accountant does his magic and makes everything look like I made less than I really did, which is, you know, that's what you have. That's what you have to do.
What is a commercial our notion of a lawnmower is going down to we go down to the depot and we buy for a couple $100, we buy the regular one. There's a couple of lawn jockeys who are desperately need to have a riding mower, and they're going to spend a few thousand. But what does it cost you to put it to you just to put the equipment out on the road? I mean, what does a commercial lawnmower go for?
So a good quality commercial lawnmower, you're going to start at around $8,000. So in my particular setup, I'll start with the trailer. $8,500 for an enclosed trailer. You have 3 weed whackers. There's $1,200 right there just for weed whackers. And then you have, a couple of chainsaws. Those are $400 or $500 a piece. You have in the regular season, you have one backpack. There's $600, and you have a handheld blower. So if you don't want to put the big backpack on, this $300, and then you have two hedge trimmers for trimming bushes. Those are $250 a piece, and then you get into a small backpack sprayer. You get into all the assorted hand tools, the shovels, the rakes. I sometimes I carry a pole pruner. And that thing's $750. Sometimes I carry. They have it's a power head with the different attachments you can put on it, like a rototiller or a brush cutter, like with a metal blade. That figure right there is $350 just for the power head, and then each attachment is I think the cheapest attachment is the edge cutter, and that one's like $200. And then the chainsaw piece you can put into it is $350, and then the rototiller is $350. And I have all those attachments. And now you get to the mowers. My cheapest mower when it was brand new was $5,000. So I have that mower. Then I have a $1,200 push mower. Then I have another big mower. That one was $11,500. And then I have a brand new mower that I bought last year, and that was $9,900. So by the time you total this all up, and then you add a truck to the front of it at anything, I mean, you're in the truck business, anything from a used truck at 10,000 all the way up to a brand new dump truck at 50, you're rolling up with $100,000 worth of equipment before you even step out and start mowing somebody's lawn.
So and I want to point out, when I got into the truck business, right around 2001, I could sell you a F-250 with a plow. You'd roll up your own windows. You'd have air conditioning. You might have an AM radio, but that's about it. But you could buy that truck with a plow in the mid to low, $20,000 to $25,000 range. You'd be happy and ecstatic to get that same truck with a plow, probably well into the 40s now. Never mind a dump truck. And if you have to put a plow on the dump truck, you have to put a sander on the dump truck, and we all know what. And then you're caught between this dilemma, if you will. The good news, you had a great snow season, which means your equipment gets the bleep knocked out of it. This year, it was terrible. So you had equipment sitting on the sideline, and you lost all that extra income that kind of gets you through the winter, so that you can gear up for cleanups in the spring. It's a tough call, and I went through this exercise because folks need to understand what it costs to run a business in this state. I mean, and the high cost of insurance is it hurts. The extra taxes hurt. That extra 1 point on the sales tax, that extra 1 point, when you buy equipment. In Rhode Island, here's a little trivia for you. You may know this, you may not. If you buy a truck, and that truck, you use it for a few years, and you trade it in to buy another truck. Now you've paid. Let's just say you bought that initial truck. We'll use really easy math for $40,000, and you pay the confiscatory 7% sales tax on it. That's about $2,800. When you trade that truck in, let's just say it's worth 10. 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you've written it hard. You get no credit for that against the purchase of the new truck in Rhode Island, whereas in virtually every other state in America, you do. In Massachusetts, You buy the new truck for 40 and the old truck's worth 10, you pay sales tax on the 30. That's a lot of money that the state gets. And it gets it on the backs of small business people who don't. It's dreadful. It's one of the most expensive states in the nation to own commercial vehicles in. On top of that, you're paying typically a fire tax or some type of additional excise tax on a local basis. So, you wonder why sometimes the streets seem to be filled with old clunkers. And what's astonishing, Mike, is that, I've asked several people up in Smith Hill, have you ever analyzed the numbers to understand that if you made it more affordable to buy a new vehicle, you might actually collect more sales tax in the long run? Because folks desperately cling on to these older vehicles. Have you gone through that analysis? Is in fact the high cost of buying a new vehicle, is it even revenue neutral, as they say in the government biz? And I've never been able to get any acknowledgement whatsoever that at the state level they've done anything like that. And you say to yourself, my God, what's going through people's minds who work up there?
To that point exactly, I'm one of those people that had an old clunker. I just, they get you coming and they get you going. And I just couldn't justify for the longest time buying a newer or brand new, I say newer as in new used or brand new dump truck, because I just know the taxes are going to kill me every single time. So I just, as a matter of like 2 weeks ago, sold my 1994 Chevy 3500 dump truck. And I even the old truck, they max book value it and like it's brand new. And, I drove until the wheels fell off. I mean, the thing had a hole in the door and a hole in the floor and a flat tire, so to speak. And
it owed you nothing.
Because it definitely nothing. But I milked that thing as long as I could because I just didn't want to get crushed in the expense of the taxes and the fees. And the other thing with a commercial vehicle is in Rhode Island, you register that thing every year and you inspect it every year. It's not like a regular vehicle where you go 2 years or whatever. So they get you every single year. And, I'm sure there's guys out there that may let their equipment slide a little bit, but I bring my stuff in all the time, fix it, make sure it's working, make sure it's right. And it's just a money grab, in my opinion, to make commercial vehicles an annual inspection and an annual registration. Like, why can't it be 2-year registration?
No, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. So let's put that in the picture, if you will, of the bigger picture now with COVID. Because of your industry and because of some of the accounts you have, you've been able to get this designated status where you're able to conduct your business. What are some of the services that you provide that you have the bandwidth now to provide for people who are in a position to use you? The weather's finally breaking. We've had a couple of nice days now where it's relatively decent to work outside. What services can you do for people? What's your geographical coverage, and what type of availability do you have right now?
So this year I have a slightly different problem. I have a lot of people are calling me, hey, do you got any room on your crew for an extra labor guy? And the problem is if I hire those people, I don't want to get stuck halfway through the season when things straighten back out. But so on my basic service, we do general maintenance. That can include spring and fall cleanups, weekly cuttings, bi-weekly. I won't do any oddball 10-day or 12-day schedule. For me, it's easier to do 7-day or 14-day. So we do weekly and bi-weekly mowings. I have a great sprinkler guy. He can do installs for sprinklers. He does your startups and your winterizations. And then we do fertilizer. I subbed that out as well because that was getting to be another ridiculous program. you as a homeowner can go buy a bag of fertilizer at Lowe's or Home Depot, and I don't know if I'm supposed to name any stores, but
No,
we'll
that's
say a
okay.
big box store, and you can buy it and you can go put it down, and you might be Johnny on the spot, but you live right next to a wetland or a stream, and you don't realize what you're doing is causing a problem downriver. Whereas me, because I charge for it, now I have to have a pesticide license, which there's $250 every 5 years, and you have to take 5 hours of continuing ed every year. So about 5 years ago, I let that license expire as well because it was just ridiculousness to have to deal with that. So I sub that out now, and I try to just pass that off, and tell the customer to find who they want or whatever, and then we'll do some light pruning of trees. I don't cut any trees down. Um, if something comes down, we'll cut it up and clean it up. But if it's still standing, we won't do anything like that. We'll do sod installations, which are pretty big jobs. We'll do overseeding, aerations, um, just general stuff like that. We'll do. I can offer power washing kind of as a side thing, and we do. Like maintenance on power washing on decks and cleaning like the moss off, things like that. In the fall, we do our overseedings and our aerations. We can do slice seeding. We can do dethatchings in the spring, and we can do any kind of bush and shrub maintenance. And along those lines, we do some install work where we've done kind of a cookie cutter house. They want to add some curb appeal. We'll go in and we'll design mulch beds. We'll design flower beds. Kind of pick some plantings that are going to look good for what the customer is going to want. Like, do they want color, or do they just want something that's green all year long? Are they next to a wooded area where they can't put something that's going to just get decimated by deer? Things like that. Does a customer want an annual flower bed? Do they want a perennial flower bed? Things like that. We do a lot of mulch work. We can put in, mulch work. We've done some stone driveways, which is kind of unique and different in itself, because most people we usually call a paving company, but I have a customer with like a 40-foot motorhome, and they just wanted it's got a gravel base. It's like a layer base. It's like a crushed gravel base, and then a sand layer, and then we put um, oh my goodness, I can't think of it right now. It's like a stone dust kind of top layer, and we've done driveways like that. We do cobblestone edgings. We can do work with metal edging or some plastic edgings. Just pretty much a full gamut of landscape work.
Right.
So we don't. Go ahead.
So you're full service in the sense that if you can't do it, you've got folks that you can sub work out to, literally at your beck and call.
Absolutely. I've built. I retired from the Coast Guard in 2009, and I
Mm-hmm.
used to kind of do this a little bit part time. When I would have time off and I was looking for something to do, I'd work for a few companies. But over the years, I've built up relationships with people. Like my sprinkler guy is great. I won't recommend somebody if they don't meet the same level of service and quality that I like to deliver, because I'm putting my name on it. And
Right.
if I make the referral, I want to make sure that they're meeting my company standards as well. And then,
Mm-hmm.
I have some fertilizer people that I recommend. I try not to make too many big recommendations sometimes, but if somebody comes to me, I had somebody last year, they came to me and said, look, I want you to do the beds. I want you to dig everything out. I want you to pick the plants. You know, I have specific nurseries that I use because I know their products are going to be the same way. If I have to call in a bobcat or a skid steer operator, I have a guy, and he's yep. Whenever you need me, Mike, just let me know. Get it scheduled, and I know he's going to go in and he's going to do the service work and he's not going to tear the place up and say, "Oh, it looks good for my house," and leave me with a mess to have to deal with afterwards.
Right.
So I have very specific people that I use.
So you're open for business. This is important. It's in keeping with local businesses. The blessing is that when you go out and buy your supplies, you're going to buy them largely from local people, local distributors. You're going to, when you need to, bring on local subcontractors. The money that you earn will be spent locally. The money that those folks will earn will be spent locally. In a very large sense, you've served our nation quite admirably in the United States Coast Guard. What we're almost asking you to do right now is go out and serve our nation by being a successful business person and generating wealth and creating wealth for people in your immediate circle. And that's the forgotten part about small business. Because you're local, a lot of the money that you make is reinvested locally. It doesn't go out to other states, doesn't go to faraway places. It means that there are people literally, and this is it's going to get down to over the next few months. We're going to have to adapt, improvise, and overcome the impacts of, I believe, personally, poor planning on behalf of this much vaunted, very expensive government that we've all been subsidizing for a number of years. They were put in place and with a promise that, self-imposed, by the way. I was always content for them to go away. But, they imposed themselves on us, and they said, we're going to take care of this and we're going to take care of that. And I don't blame them for the disease. What I blame them for is spending inordinate, insane amounts of money to be really poorly prepared for this. So it's mind-boggling how much money has been spent to leave us essentially naked and alone. And you've got the prospect of a governor now who literally is I don't even want to get into the civil liberty issues here. But what it really comes down to is Rhode Islanders need to look to other Rhode Islanders to work together to bring Rhode Island back to life after this. There's this idea out there that somehow the government's going to reopen the economy. Huh? Excuse me? No, Mike, you're going to open up the economy, and the guy who does your sprinklers is going to open up the economy. And the couple of guys who are going to come work for you, as you've kind of figured out what two to bring on for this crazy season, they're going to reopen the economy. And the guy who's your local supplier is going to reopen the economy, and on and on and on. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And I think, you and I have spoken many times in the past. Is it fair to say at this point that you would like government just to get the hell out of the way so you can get to work? Is that is it that?
Absolutely. They've done a great disservice to everyone, and you said you didn't want to touch on the civil liberties, but I get it. They're trying to take precautions and safety measures, but how do you determine what's essential and what's not? Because if I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to be determined essential, well, I got to tell you, I'd probably go start working anyway, because my job is essential for me and my family to survive. And that's the bottom line. If I'm not making money, I'm losing. And then what? Because we haven't seen big government do anything really. I think there's been something about no evictions or stuff like that. But to what level did that really go? I mean, because we all know, I'm sure there's people that are still being evicted, even though the governor said, "Oh, don't evict anybody." But what about all the homeowners?
Right. What does that say to the what does it say to the landlord, the small landlord? A lot of the landlords in a state like Rhode Island are not these mega corporations. They're not these slumlords who own 30 or 40 buildings. A lot of these landlords are in one end of the triple decker, as we say in New England, tenement. All right. That they're renting out to somebody else. And the way that they're getting equity in their house is essentially renting to somebody else. They're living upstairs. This isn't some guy in some far-flung suburb. So, there are ramifications for everything decision that government imposes on us. And so
absolutely,
you're supposed to say to him, it sucks to be you. You don't get to collect. And then we start getting into the micromanaging. Well, if the guy owns 5 units or 6 units, he's not subject to that. And then you're like a game show host trying to figure out who wins, who loses. The goal is just get the hell out of the way and let folks like you who are willing to put risk. Listen, every day that you're open, the economists call it risk capital, but you're putting up your money to make a living for your family. And that's why we need to hire local. And if folks are in a position, they hear this, we're going to play this a lot. If folks are in a position to start their work, there's a lot of folks who, and listen, God bless them, who work for companies, who are working from home right now, who've seen their incomes, for the time being at least, unaffected. If you're planning to get that cleanup done, because the fall was so screwed up, call Mike up. Maybe somebody else in the neighborhood that's working. Call folks up and say, listen, you know what? I need the work done. It can only be one or two of you. You got to keep 6 feet apart. I wish normally I'd have you inside for a cup of coffee or something. I can't do that. We're in strange times, but that doesn't mean you're ready to work, aren't you?
I am. I'm ready to work. And to talk about your point of businesses getting the economy going is absolutely right. Because, I mean, if you take somebody like me, I get gas locally. I get my mulch locally. I get my stone locally. I get my mowers serviced locally by a very good small family-owned business. I get, and I'm going to throw his name out if I can, a shameless
Absolutely.
plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Go see Mike down at Precision Saw and Mower on Warwick Ave. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for him. And it's because he's a small business owner and he gets it. He understands it. I mean, I had my stuff ripped off twice and it almost shut me down for good. But thankfully, he's a guy that gets it and understands it, and he helped me out just so I could keep operating. But then you have the mower shops.
Have him call us. We'll put him on the air. No, absolutely.
Okay.
This is all, I'm the guy who, there's a group of us here that decided to restart or kind of jumpstart an enhanced version of our business 2 weeks before the apocalypse. I mean, we're the guys who went on the air just as literally Vesuvius was blowing. I mean, so I know exactly how you feel. So, if folks in your food chain want to call in and talk on the air for a few minutes and just vent, hey, we're on the air till 1, 2 in the morning sometimes, taking calls from people. I get it. It's.
So then I have, Then I have the local fertilizer and supply house that I use. I'm not a fan of big box. I'm a local guy, and while they're sort of a big box, then they're locally, I guess, franchised or whatever. So I use them for supplies, and then. Then I have a trailer company that I use to do my trailer service work. Check the brakes, replace the electric brakes in the trailer, do the inspections, do my truck inspections, and then, their trailer in a snowplow place. So then, he's another guy, small local family owned. It's him, his brother, his mother, and his father. It's his business, and they all work together in the company. And, there's another one that I use. And then my insurance company is a small local company as well, and I found them through the Rhode Island Farm Bureau. Being a member of the Rhode Island Farm Bureau I was able to find that better insurance. So they're a local family. It's the owner, the son, and I forget what it was. I don't want to make it sound like a bad soap opera, but like the cousin and the sister and
that's how it works.
The aunt or whatever. But that's what it is, and it's everything I do is local, and it goes back into the local economy. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that I can do that. And that is, you're right. That's what's going to start everything going again is getting some of this stuff moving. So
M&L Landscaping, Mike Underwood.
Yes.
We put out his Facebook page. We'll put the links up we already did for people. You do literally, you've got the wherewithal to either for yourself or folks that you bring in to do everything from sprinklers to gravel to hedges to lawn mowing to flowers, horticulture. you can really do a lot of work for people. You've got some openings now. You've got some time that you can go out and work on people's lawns. You can observe all the legalities, the social distancing, all of that. Everything you do will, you already invest locally into local suppliers. So if you're in Warwick and you're looking and you need, you're looking at your yard and it's been pretty miserable. And listen, let's be blunt. Our homes are going to become our entertainment centers for a long time now. I think it's fair to say that you and your family are going to be spending time at, on the home front. So why not invest in your backyard? Make it a nice place so that you and your family can, there's going to be a lot of staycationing, if you will, this summer. It's the new reality. So make it a place that you'll enjoy using. It'll get you out of the house now that the weather's starting to break at least a little bit. Have some fun with your family. And at the same time, support local business so that the lights start getting turned on. And it's your Rhode Island patriotic duty. How about that? Is that a good way to look at it?
That sounds great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, if folks, if you hear this or you're listening to it now, I've known Mike for a while. He's a great guy. Again, he served our nation honorably in Rhode Island's official Navy, the United States Coast Guard. I know there are other states out there who think the Coast Guard's for them, but we know better. It's Rhode Island's Navy. He's been very heavy. He's a civic-minded guy. He's got a great business. It's clear he does things the right way, so you or your family won't be at any risk for any of the work he does on your lawn or your facility. Give him a call. And if you have a business that you want to promote and just have some fun and maybe get a little off your chest and have a couple laughs and share with other people, let us know here at the Coalition. It's p4@coalitionradio.us. You can just send me a message on the Facebook, as we say, or at Twitter at @coalition_radio. Let Mike know. He'll give me a call. And, it could be anything. It could be a small family restaurant. It could be a market, a bodega. It could be any one of a number of services that work in construction, home repair. Life is going to go on. I'll spare you my rendition of tomorrow, but as we all say, tomorrow is only a day away. So we will get out of this in the next month or so, and let's look to ourselves. Let's depend on ourselves as a community rather than wait for someone else to do it for us. Let's get the work done of rebuilding Rhode Island. Let's look at the government and say, listen, that's nice. Knock yourself out. Go somewhere, please. Do whatever it is you do. And meanwhile, guys like Mike and shows like the Coalition and all of you folks out there are going to rebuild Rhode Island as a team, as a family. We're going to support each other doing so, and we're going to relearn how to be a community and how to be independent of all this nonsense. Because you know what? It's really up to us to take care of ourselves, isn't it, Mike?
It absolutely is. I'm getting kind of jaded the longer this goes on, and I kind of sit there and think, well, I don't remember asking anybody if I could or couldn't do anything, and I don't remember asking anybody for permission or their help for anything. So just get out of my way and let me do what I need to do.
Damn straight, buddy. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on tonight. And again, it's M&L Landscaping, Mike Underwood. We have all the links and the phone numbers will be on the page. Give everyone the phone number for the business, if you will, so they can hear it on the recording.
It's 401-527-5572.
There you go.
That's the best way to get me. That's my business cell. I don't answer it after 5 o'clock. I gotta turn it off and step away sometimes. Usually 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'll answer the phone. If I don't, it's because I'm operating equipment or something.
And you can also, we shared already a link to the Facebook, so you can reach out, like his page on Facebook, share the love, and again, he is one of Rhode Island's working class heroes. It's businesses like his that are going to bring Little Rhodey back to where we need to be. God bless you, lad. All right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk. Right. I know we will talk again soon. Folks, we're going to take a very quick break right now. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network. Well, here in the bunker at the Worldwide Coalition Radio Network, buried deep in the hills of La Prove, Providence, Rhode Island, the naked city, the city of 300,000 or 400,000 stories. We just told one. Mike Underwood, M&L Landscaping. Support local business. You're going to hear that again and again. Make that your act of defiance. Let's lift up ourselves. Let's not wait for someone to do for us. Cast off the burdens of government. In just a few minutes, we're going to have Mark Whitney. He is a candidate for the presidency of the United States on. He is running for the Libertarian nomination. We tried to have him on last week. He's been a very patient soul as we kind of worked through the growing pains of our new facility here in La Prave. So, folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back. And, by the way, late tonight, we'll be on the air with a phone-in. You want to vent, bitch, kvetch, nudge, 401-205-3738. Stay tuned.